Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Press Start to Play. This is your host Ayush from Game of Fiend, and today I am joined by Darren Rodriguez, Manas Joy, and Sushir Rahman.
What's up?
What's up?
And today this jury has assembled together to judge Phil Spencer, who recently gave an interview on another podcast, and we are all here to take what do you say, unauthorized or quotes out of that, and display them as incorrectly as possible, right? So Sushir has all the details. So Sushir, take it away.
First things first, I know you guys have all watched the interview, right? And the thing that I want to say is that, if anybody here who's watching this, has not go ahead and watch that,
Oh yeah,
then come back. You'll definitely get more context regarding this. I just want to ask you guys.
ये interview kind of funny के channel पे.
Right, kind of funny
Link,
Xcast.
हाँ.
Yeah, kind of funny Xcast, and the Snow
Link
White
डाल
Mike is
देंगे
there, Paris is there, and then Greg, Vita is there. So those three people have been doing the Xcast for quite some time, and it was those three are like, at least two of them are really hardcore Xbox loyalists. It was tough for me to watch them. It was tough for me to watch Phil Spencer going through all of that, and I'll come to what I felt about it later on. But what did you guys feel about the whole thing? Like, what was your whole takeaway regarding that? Like, देखा तो क्या खुश हो?
मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ. It's like watching a क्या कहते हैं जैसे loved patriarch of a family or of an organization get finally failing, like the faults that you knew that existed in this person, in this leader, and everybody was happy and gaga about it. ना finally वो cracks दिख रहे हैं ऐसा करके. तो मतलब क्योंकि तो मैं तो बहुत खुश हूँ कि मतलब ये हो रहा है वहाँ पर, and it's Xbox needs a reckoning, man. Xbox needs a reckoning.
Definitely. That I agree with. Manas, what about you? What was your takeaway from this?
Yeah, I saw the whole thing and मतलब जो भी मुझे लग रहा है overall Phil Spencer ने जो भी बोला यार, like all reasonable stuff, a lot of honesty लग रहा है, a lot of stuff जो ऐसा है, but यार ये I started seeing this 2016 में. मुझे even याद है मैंने एक वीडियो भी बनाया था, like talking about all of this, like what's coming, it looks exciting, and that video तो feels very idiotic now, क्योंकि 2016 से चल रहा है, it's about 6 years हो गए हैं, like still the same thing. It is still the same thing. मतलब जैसे if you say कि indies आए, stuff like Hi-Fi Rush या Ori and all, तो वो तो Xbox One पे भी आते जा रहे थे, like what's different, what's new, like none of your IPs matter, like Gears of War, who cares वाला situation में. Even though I like Gears 4 and 5, both 5 I thought was like a lot of fun, but even Halo तो तुमने कर दिया इतनी बुरी हालत, like nobody even wants to hear about the next one. Like क्या बचा Microsoft का, like what is their IP even that's left? कुछ है ही नहीं. Flight Simulator है जो honestly fantastic, and Forza Horizon great game, but where are the, like कहाँ है इनका Last of Us, कहाँ है God of War, like, and also I think Gears of War का भी जितनी भी तारीफ कर लो 5 की, like the problem is कि it is still like Gears of War 1, 2, 3, like God of War, where it evolved in such a big way to change with the times and be a mature game इतने सालों बाद, like and even Uncharted 1, 2, 3 के बाद Uncharted 4 was like a pretty huge shift in terms of seriousness जो discuss किया उसमें ना, ये relationships and all. तो where are those games? कुछ, and Phil Spencer अभी भी it's like और मतलब deeply same ही चीज कह रहा है जो उसने 2016 में बोला था, बट अब और डिटेल में कह रहा है. मतलब अब तो उस टाइम पे अगर बैठ के कह रहा था तो इस टाइम में रेंग के क्रॉल करके ऐसे हाथ जोड़ के कह रहा है. इट्स लाइक, बट ही इज सेइंग द सेम थिंग एंड नथिंग हैज चेंज्ड विद Xbox, एंड आई एम वेरी मच होपफुल कि नेक्स्ट ईयर में ऑफ कोर्स चेंज हो जाएगा, बट Redfall जैसा स्टफ कमिंग आउट, एंड उससे पहले भी विद Halo, लाइक व्हाई कांट यू डू उसमें, लाइक बिफोर वी स्टार्ट गेटिंग इनटू कोट्स, मैं डैरन का भी सुन लेता हूं. देयर आर लाइक पर्टिकुलर कोट्स जो मुझे बिलीव नहीं होते, डूड व्हाट द फक आर यू सेइंग. Anyways,
मेरा तो I don't have too much to say. All I know is कि Phil Spencer decided to come on a live stream and talk about how disappointed people are feeling, and that they are valid feeling disappointed, and कि we will do better next time. We will
अरे
do
वो
better next
Xbox
time.
के हेड के जगह वो Xbox गेमर्स का थेरेपिस्ट है वो,
सच्ची.
उसी काम के लिए उसको बिठा के मतलब वही चल रहा है ऐसा लग रहा है, मतलब क्या बोले.
But फिर भी I have to say like from a PR point of view must have ये plan करके like he must have been like बहुत बोला हुआ कि you can say this, you cannot say this, you can say these words, you cannot use these words. तो good on him for like appearing on a podcast instead of like just having questions sent him to him and answering and then putting out a very edited thing. तो खुश हो जाओ Xbox वाले, ये तो मिल रहा है तुम्हें कम से कम.
So let's say I was waiting for someone to bring that up, and right after that podcast came out, they did with Greg Miller. They did like trying to analyze. They did it on that separate podcast, trying to analyze what was said regarding all that. And I got to know an interesting tidbit. Like the first thing, I thought that this was like a वो क्या बोलते हैं PR
Land वो.
But this wasn't. This was actually planned like 1.5 months in advance, and he didn't cancel. Like they had completely separate list of questions and everything, but after the CMA blocked that Activision deal, after Redfall crash and burned, he actually didn't change his date. He came on the show. He still said, okay, no, I'm going to do this. Whatever questions you have, you come ahead. And I know, like the whole point over here is that, okay, हाँ अच्छा बंदा है, पर there has to be some, like in the end, it's all about video games. So there has to be some good video games coming out of it. Like no matter how good a person is and whatever direction he's wanting to take that. Yeah.
Whatever Sushi said, I think remember that and take it in the box, because there's going to be a quote in this interview that Sushi is going to say, and then we're going to bring this back.
Okay.
Because it's all about the video game, right, Sushi?
Absolutely.
That's what he said.
Absolutely.
And यार एक चीज ये भी कि ना, जैसे कि he is saying all these things and all, which is great, and उसने cancel नहीं किया वो भी सही है, but I think he had to do this, no? Like no matter what, like मतलब क्या like what do you tell to your consumers, like how do you bring sentiment थोड़ा like stable करे, है ना, like because at this point like Redfall की भी बात, like why do you not want a PS5 अगर तुम console में खेलना चाहते हो, so just get a PS5 and like you get all the great third party stuff and you don't have to think about something like a Redfall वगैरह ना. Like
actually literally आज my cousin reached out to me and said कि hey, I think he has an Xbox One Series S or something. He said, hey, I think I'm going to sell my Series S and buy a PS5. Do you know where I can get a PS5 from?
Yeah.
So कुछ है ही नहीं खेलने को उसके पास Series S पे.
Yeah. Like वैसे मतलब it is in such a bad state ना. वो of course मुझे लग रहा है उसको आना ही था, मतलब वो like वो और क्या ही करोगे, like गेम है नहीं, चलो ये कर लेते हैं, पॉडकास्ट सुनाते हैं अपने गेमर्स को, while they could not even make like a podcast game in Redfall.
I think that kind of disappointment is very valid, and I personally haven't played the game, but I'm disappointed in how it is being received, because I'm seeing whatever the problems that are there, people are complaining about, and I'm seeing that game does have those integral problems that can't be solved right away. Like it just can't. You can't bugs. ऐसा कोई bugs का बात नहीं है या कुछ बात नहीं है, वो एक spirit है जो वो game में नहीं है. There is a particular a sense of yeah, so that is missing in that game. Let's talk about
and
Arkane,
also
Harvey Smith. Yeah,
also talking about like honesty and all, जैसे honesty and even होता ना pro consumer, I think it is the most pro consumer thing for a gamer. He gets good games,
right?
तो Sony अगर $70 चार्ज कर रहा है for Last of Us Part 1 का remake, why the fuck should they not? Like do they not? Looking at this, अगर Redfall के लिए $70 चार्ज हो सकता है, तो I think Last of Us remake के लिए तो $100 भी fair sound कर रहा है. Like are you kidding me? And that is the most pro consumer thing to do. And also Sony ने चाहे $70 लिया हुआ, and all of us, I think even I complained कि नहीं, it feels a little too much, but they delivered like a great game on the PS5 at least. They delivered a great game. PC पे तो अलग ही कचड़ा है ना, but like the core of it, like all of it, like they justified, like Phil Spencer honestly, like dishonesty तो is in that price itself, no, like charging $70 for it, even if it's a Game Pass game, वो कहीं और तो $70 पे, it's an they think it is it's not. Are you telling me कि तुम इतना apologize भी किया, तुमने बोला हमने उतना help नहीं किया with the team and all that, and you still charging $70 for it? Like that is the lie right there, no?
What Sushir mentioned was very interesting. He said कि ना वो core of the game, वो character या कुछ something is missing. तो like we had a podcast where we talked कि ना वो 30 FPS क्यों है अब तुम्हारे flagship console पे. Now that doesn't even matter कि वो 30 FPS है कि नहीं है. वो गेम ही कहाँ है खेलने के लिए. So
उसमें
like
FPS क्यों है?
the same thing that we had, like the conversation, if you were to take Jedi Survivor, okay, and its performance issues, and you take Redfall and its performance issues, क्यों 30 FPS पे क्यों है, you would still recommend Jedi Survivor because there is a fantastic game there that you know after some time will be patched out and fixed. लेकिन Redfall में even if they give you 60 FPS, you will just be disappointed in more frames now.
You will be disappointed faster.
Yeah.
But
you'll be able to spot your disappointment faster.
yeah,
Yes,
let's get to the quotes.
Let's call
start
the
with,
witness onto the stand.
let's call the witness onto the stand.
By
and,
the way, when we start, we're all wearing like 2 black, 1 gray, and 1 white. We're like spectrum.
Full jury.
पूरा spectrum है हमारे पास. And not biased, by the way. I'm not biased.
okay.
Not biased.
Darren जैसे biased तो बंदा कभी unbiased बंदा देखा नहीं मैंने कभी.
Right. So here's Phil Spencer on Redfall's launch. So this goes. I just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community. I've been a part of it for a long time. I obviously work on Xbox, head of the business, have a lot of friends, get a lot of feedback, and just to watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. I revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 FPS, and then we weren't shipping 60 FPS. That was our punch in the chin, rightfully, a couple of weeks ago. And then seeing the game come out and the critical response was not what we wanted, and it's disappointing. So here he goes. What can we learn? What can we get better? One thing I'll fight is what went wrong. There's clear quality and execution things we can do, but one thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams. Then a lot of people will say, hey, you've got teams know how to do one kind of game. Just force them to do that kind of game they have a proven track record for. I'm just not a believer in that. Maybe that means I'll under-deliver for some of the fans out there. But when a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi Rush, when everybody probably thought must be doing Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. But I also need to have a great selection of games that continue to come to surprise and delight our fans. We under-delivered on that, and for that I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want, but it's ours to deliver. So, yeah, I mean,
ये तो he's saying कि we lied, but guys, my team, I will let them do whatever they want. They want to be creative, I'll do it. So he's telling you कि Redfall might have launched bad, but look at this. Tango wants to do hi-fi, let them do. He's completely like moving the narrative from one thing to the other, so that you are not talking about the first half of of the disappointing launch, and you're more focused on अच्छा हाँ ये करने तो दे रहा है यार इनको. He's letting them work on other games, which is fine. Like game developers get bored making the same thing. हाँ
मुझे कैसे लगा कि ये लोग गेम बना नहीं सकते कुछ और, ऐसा कह रहे हैं. मेरी गलती.
but
see, I think like the point he is trying to make is not the question that he was asked. मेरा ये point है. That is exactly the point he is trying to make is not the question he was asked. Like he was asked like कि कहते हैं what do you feel about Redfall launch? तो ठीक है, तो he feels कि मतलब ठीक है गेम बुरा आया मैं मानता हूँ, पर मैं अपनी टीम को वापस जाके बोलूंगा नहीं कि कुछ और बनाओ. And then he goes on to this narrative कि मतलब कि मैं पर कोई नहीं प्रेशर डाल रहा, कोई यहाँ से हम लोग में से ये नहीं बोल रहा कि आर्केन जाके मतलब कुछ और गेम बनाए, है ना. हम लोग ये बात कर रहे हैं कि रेडफॉल अच्छा नहीं बना. द फोकस शुड बी आप कुछ भी यू मेक गो बैक, यू मेक समथिंग न्यू, बट इट शुड बी गुड, इट शुड बी प्लेएबल, इट शुड बी फन, राइट. कितनी सारी चीजें होती है जो ब्रोकन होती है बट पीपल आर हैव फन विद इट. और कितनी चीजें बिकॉज पर होता है जैसा इन चीजों पे. तो मुझे ये लगा कि लाइक ही वाज डिफेंडिंग द रॉन्ग पॉइंट. इफ यू वुड हैव कम आउट एंड सेड कि ठीक है, मतलब ही इज सेइंग इट्स लाइक हाउ दीज ऑफिशियल अपॉलॉजीज आर ऑन द इंटरनेट टुडे कि मतलब ठीक है, आई डोंट फील आई डिड एनीथिंग रॉन्ग बट आई एम सॉरी बिकॉज आई हैव बीन आस्क्ड टू से सॉरी बाय द
yeah, but like I mean
the entire world.
Like I came to know about the podcast happening the day before, and I was talking to you. You said like what is he going to do? I said he's going to pacify the pitchforkers, and I thought it was going to be a PR stunt, but then I saw the whole thing, and I personally do think he is disappointed. Like, I mean, as much as the people who
I'm
bought the
sure.
game for $70, he
यार
is also
उसने
disappointed.
Bethesda खरीदा है भाई, वो Xbox उसने Bethesda खरीदा कितने $1 million में? This was the biggest gaming deal of the history of video games until
Till before
Activision happened.
Didn't happen.
Before Activision happened. हाँ मतलब जो भी है, but obviously he will be disappointed. Like ये निकाल के दिया इन्होंने कचरा. In fact the fuck man, तो वो उससे पहले Deathloop निकाला था Arkane ने, मतलब Bethesda ने. That was a PlayStation exclusive. That game is better than क्या कहते हैं Redfall. ठीक है.
उसके तो गेम ऑफ द ईयर में बात हो रही है डेथलूप की.
उसकी गेम ऑफ द ईयर में बात होती है भाई उसकी गेम की. ऐसा क्या चल रहा है यार भाई साहब वहां पर?
तो
क्या हो रहा है?
मतलब जो भी है, मतलब फिल स्पेंसर को पता नहीं पता है, सोनी को पता है कुछ तो कि दे पिक द राइट गेम.
ठीक है. एंड और मैं ये भी मानने को तैयार हूँ कि ठीक है कि आपका स्टूडियो है, यू आर डूइंग समथिंग न्यू. आई एम ऑन बोर्ड विद दिस. आपकी टीम है, दे वांट टू डू समथिंग न्यू, दे वांट टू मेक समथिंग न्यू. तो आपने उनको बोला तुम बना दो, बट दैट सेट द एक्सपेक्टेशंस करेक्टली. फिर आप ये मत बोलो कि यार हम लोग ऐसा गेम डिलीवर करेंगे. रेडफॉल अपने शोकेस में भी रखा है इसको, तब उसको इंडी के अंदर डालू.
नहीं,
इसकी एक्सपेक्टेशन ये रखो कि ये सिंगल ए गेम है.
नहीं, उसने अभी एक्सपेक्टेशन वही रखा है. उसका कमेंट है ना यहाँ, क्या है कि याद है सी ऑफ थीव्स. हाँ, तो वैसे नो लर्निंग फ्रॉम दैट. हमने फिर से एक और बना दिया, वैसे ही हो जाएगा, देखेंगे. ये कैसा डिफेंस है? वो कह रहे हैं
सी ऑफ थीव्स ग्राउंडेड एंड क्या कहते हैं हाई-फाई, एंड लाइक उसमें इतना वेरिएशन है आगे ऊपर नीचे चीजों में.
सी ऑफ थीव्स वाला कंपैरिजन आई डोंट
यार किसी को somebody is watching this podcast, they're feeling like I am coming in with an like a vengeance for Phil Spencer. तो yes, that is true. बहुत टाइम बाद मुझको मौका मिला ऐसा करने का. Let me just set this कि ये फिर मुझको बहुत बुरा लगता है कि ये इतनी मतलब क्या कहते हैं एनिमोसिटी है PlayStation और Xbox के बीच में. देन जब से फिल आया तब से ये लगा हुआ है नहीं गेमर फ्री में दे दो, ये भी दे दो, आओ प्यार करेंगे. तो ना आई फील इट, मुझे अंदर से अंदर जेलसी होती है उसके लिए. नहीं, मुझे चाहिए लड़ने के लिए. आई वांट टू सी अ Xbox person and slap him in the face. नहीं, तेरा कंसोल खराब है. Nintendo person को मैं बोला जाता हूँ कि ग्रो अप ड्यूड. ऐसा चाहता हूँ मैं लाइफ में करना. नहीं, बट नो ओवरऑल आई
fine. Get on with that. Let's come to the next part. So he was asked
तो
why.
मैंने भी तो यही किया ना. That was not the question that was asked of me. It completely changed the narrative. You see what it did there? Now you're not thinking Phil की गलती है. तुम लोग ये सोच रहे हो कि ये सब कुछ तो आयुष का किया था.
Yes.
ये बोलेगा ही खराब.
आयुष भड़ास निकाल रहा है. He was asked why not delay Redfall. And he started saying, if I think about a team's execution in a game, we had a creative vision, and did we realize that the vision through the game was created? That's not a delay question if the answer is no. So this was a little, I was a little concerned about this. This isn't a Redfall specific conversation. Yeah.
I have the answer to why not delay Redfall. The same reason why Warner Brothers preponed Gotham Knights का release. दोनों को पता था इतना ही हो पाएगा. ये That's like the short answer. कुछ भी बोल रहा है.
अब इसमें भी like Sushit, go the next slide and then I want to say something about
it.
I think Manas is right, but I have very specific things that I want to say about the next.
And I think people are taking the next statement a little too literally and not understanding what he was trying to mean. But yeah, let's go here. But we build games that review in the high 80s, and we will build games that review in the 60s. It's part of being in game publishing, and if you're afraid of that, then you shouldn't be in the entertainment business. You shouldn't be in the games business. I think he was, again, trying to say is that some games might review in the 60s. And if you stop making games because of that feeling that, okay, it will not review as well, then you should not make games. I think he was talking about like people taking chances, people making games that they want to, and I think that is quite visible in the kind of games that they have made, smaller games that they made in the past. This AAA, which was supposed to be the flagship, which is supposed to be their like the Renaissance period, start of their thing, it completely flopped hard, and now it has like just like Atlas put on more weight to a game which is going to come further on. It's staggering. I think that's why he later on says about that 11 out of 10 thing. So what do you want to say about that? Tell me.
तो मेरे ख्याल से ये होना चाहिए कि whether a game reviews 60 or 80, that मतलब I think he is mixing, at least in the context of this translation of the statement that is said, he is mixing up two different things: how the game is received and how a game is reviewed. जैसे अभी अभी मेटाक्रिटिक पे क्रिटिक स्कोर्स होते हैं और ओपन क्रिटिक पे क्रिटिक स्कोर्स होते हैं, यूजर स्कोर्स आर डिफरेंट. A game could have a high critic score, but it could be received poorly by the public, by the audience. होता है, हमेशा हुआ है, आगे भी होगा, ठीक है. And the reverse could also be true. Your aim should be to create an 80 plus critical game. कि वो critically 80 plus हो, at least उसमें quality, मतलब quality issues ना हो, performance bugs ना हो. That should be your aim at that point of time. इस point पे यहाँ पर today in the age of Xbox Series X, the minimum you have to produce is a 60 FPS game. Minimum, like आपको करना ही है. If you, especially you're a first party studio, you have to produce 60 FPS. और नहीं हो रहा है ना, तो फिर then it should be 4K. मतलब फिर वो सिनेमैटिक, फिर then go the other route. फिर आप ग्राफिकली एनहांस करो उसको, बिल्कुल एकदम पिक्चर परफेक्ट करो, पिक्सल परफेक्ट करो उसको. बिकॉज दीज थिंग्स, मतलब लोड टाइम्स कुछ तो मतलब होना चाहिए ना उस गेम में, विच शोज यू कि हाँ ये आज का गेम है, लाइक टुडेज गेम, राइट. एंड टू से कि हाँ कुछ स्कोर नहीं करेगा और हम लोग 60 भी गेम बनाएंगे, हम लोग 80s भी गेम बनाएंगे, दैट इज नॉट द राइट वे टू एक्चुअली परसीव. जैसे अभी सोनी के भी गेम बैडली रिव्यू होंगे, ठीक है, पर वो कभी आके ये नहीं बोलेगा फ्लोर पे कि हम लोग बना रहे हैं और हम लोग कुछ भी बना रहे हैं, फाइनल फैंटेसी 7 बना रहे हैं, पार्ट 1 हो सकता है 30 हो सकता है 80 हो, कुछ भी हो सकता है. वो बोलेंगे ना दिस इज द बेस्ट, गोइंग टू बी द बेस्ट गेम यू एवर. देयर इज सम क्वालिटी कंट्रोल देयर, है ना, कुछ क्वालिटी कंट्रोल तो हो रहा है ना वहां पे.
So, like, I mean, what do you think is the end reason because of this failure? Like in the end, because it's coming out from a team like, you know, which is headed by Harvey Smith. There's the whole Arkane pedigree to it. They have done games like.
I don't think they had the experience to do that, Sushir. मुझे ये लगता है कि like दो ही, जैसे उसने फिल ने पहले बोला कि like they wanted to do something different. And और उसकी वजह से I think I agree with the fact that he couldn't delay Redfall any longer. मुझे ये लगता है कि
and do you think just one more thing to add? This game was in production phase before the Microsoft acquired Bethesda and everything. Do companies usually come and shelve those kind of projects, or do they like go ahead with it? And like, what is it like? Because there's a feeling that Microsoft did not give it the care that it deserved, and there is a statement a few roads down. There is a statement where Phil Spencer agrees to that they were not able to give the same kind of help that they should have, that the game required. So what do you think happens in these kind of cases? And I want to ask all of you regarding that.
So what I can do is like compare it to a situation in my corporate world. Okay, right. So I've been part of companies which have acquired different smaller companies into their fold. ठीक है, तो जब acquisition हो रहा होता है ना, तो at the point of acquisition you are very sure कि what is going on in the other company, कि क्या इनगोइंग प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, क्या व्हाट विल बी डिलीवर्ड इन 6 months 8 months, जो भी है, 1 month 6 months 1 month, जो भी अपना पैरामीटर है. तो अबाउट 3 years का रफली आइडिया होता है कि क्या काम चल रहा है, कितने एम्प्लॉइज हैं, व्हाट आर दोस एम्प्लॉइज वर्किंग ऑन, एंड व्हाट आर गोइंग टू बी प्रोड्यूस्ड इन द नेक्स्ट 3 years. ठीक है, क्योंकि दिस टाइम इज ऑल्सो द अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम फॉर योर कल्चर टू इम्पीड द अदर. ऐसा तो इट विल, या तो यू से कि हम लोग एक्वायर कर रहे हैं, एवरीबडी इन द करंट कंपनी विल गो आउट. So in that case, nobody from Bethesda, only the trademark of Bethesda goes to Microsoft, and all their projects are shelved. Everything is stopped. You create a new team for Bethesda, Arkane, Bethesda जो भी है, which is going to take up those names. Arkane exist नहीं करेगा, only the IPs will exist. ठीक है. In the case where it's like a assimilation, है ना, तो nobody will lose their job जो भी कर रहे हैं. For a low level developer who's working on that game, and a entry level या फिर एक level ऊपर या फिर team lead के type पर, nothing is going to change for them. They're still going to get the same payroll. They're still going to work in the same culture. They're going to still work in the same process they were working on before, है ना. उस culture को change होने में it will take 1 to 2 to 3 years roughly, depending upon the size of the assimilation and the effort they're putting in. So because the Redfall might have been in process, like Phil mentioned, there is the chances of Microsoft kind of affecting the development of that game are few, is less. मतलब it's not, I wouldn't say कि Microsoft ने बहुत influence करा होगा उसके development को, है ना. I completely believe कि Phil Spencer डिले कराया था ये गेम 6-8 महीने से, जो last year जो डिले हुआ था, which was announced on Redfall, that came through Phil Spencer when he saw the state of the game. But even at that, I do not think कि Microsoft का बहुत बड़ा हाथ होगा कि Arkane, और अगर होता ना तो then we would have learned about it. क्योंकि जैसे I remember जब Uncharted came out and then God of War came out, you saw these stories where Santa Monica was helping क्या कहते हैं दूसरे studios, right, during that time. Naughty Dog and they collaborated for the different games with help. So अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ होता ना Xbox के studios में, if some other studio was helping out Arkane, it would have made news also. तो वो तो मैं मानने को बिल्कुल तैयार हूँ कि हाँ इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं हुआ होगा माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने, and it is the reason that they were not able to give the care Redfall needed.
So there's a small quote before we go ahead. He starts saying, we didn't do a good job early in engaging with Arkane Austin to really help them understand what it meant to be a part of Xbox and part of the first party, and use some of our internal resources to help them and move along the journey even faster. So we left them to go work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team and I still do, and will totally bet on them to do another great game. When Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, and Jamie Leder, who runs ZeniMax, and I sit down, I think we can engage earlier with our different studios, thinking about how our internal processes of developer assistance, even some of our internal advanced technology group resources, and how those work with our internal teams, I think we can do a better job. And then he says, we did a better job with Starfield. Again, nobody should believe it until they are playing the game, but that game was earlier on in production, and it was easier for us to swarm a bunch of people to go and help with some of the technology on our platform and ensure we are going to ship a quality experience there. We should have been there for Harvey and the team earlier. That's on us. And then through the process, it's an Unreal game. We have a bunch of studios that have done some really great work on Unreal over the years, and I think we were too late to help them when they had certain issues they were working with, which any team will. It's nothing to do with the specific engine, but we have a lot of experience and we needed to get on that earlier with the team, and we didn't do that. So he talked about how the coalition, who previously did that, remember that the whole Matrix demo, and the people from Rare looking, both teams that have done some really great work with Unreal to help us build a 60 frames per second plan. But obviously there was a plan that had to be placed last fall in order for us to be in a position to have it at launch. I take that as a learning, as painful as it is. There's a bunch of other stuff I could go into, but then we end up with a developer documentary. So
to add to this, speaking as to what happened with the acquisition, Ayush mentioned how जब उन्होंने लिया होगा इनको Arkane को, they must have not, and he said also Spill कि हमने ज़्यादा कुछ करा नहीं उनके साथ. We just let them make the game. What could have happened was कि Arkane was finishing up Deathloop. They were already in pre-production and production for ये वाला game Redfall, and they must have been working on it. फिर क्या हुआ होगा कि because of the quality Arkane के games are, Microsoft must have internally said कि okay Arkane, तुम Redfall बना रहे हो, बनाते रहो, but devote more people to make a bigger AAA game for us, that for an Xbox game. Redfall is ठीक है, you wanted to work on it, it was in production, we can't shelve it, too much work is done to cancel it, and we can't release it now, which I think is also the reason why they delayed the game, because they must have moved team members around. That's why they gave people from Coalition and Rare to them कि अच्छा तुम्हारे engine में you're trying to figure it out, so have these resources from these teams who are well versed with it, because you might not have the same time or team capacity to be able to take care of it. तो हम तुम्हारे priority internally studio का change कर रहे हैं for people to work on a bigger title, but Redfall is still safe. जो भी काम कर रहा है is still safe, लेकिन अब since we are removing those resources, you need time.
I think
it'll take 6-8 months.
Darren, giving Microsoft even that much credit is too much. I mean, I don't even think that they were prioritizing anything. They just left it to Bethesda. I feel that way.
I think they left it to Bethesda.
Arkane was making a game for PlayStation, है ना? मतलब Arkane was making a game for PlayStation, and if Microsoft would have interfered or might have interfered, they could have got something from Sony. मतलब समझ रहे हो? So यहाँ तो लोगों ने if there was even a rumor that Microsoft is changing the way of development, या फिर Deathloop influence कर रहे हैं, या फिर समझ लो just छोटी सी बात है, जैसे Arkane में एक बंदा काम कर रहा है, he is used to working delivering in 3 weeks of sprints, ठीक है? Microsoft आता है and they have this culture of delivering in 2 weeks of sprint, and he says कि भैया Arkane तुम भी करो, है ना? And then that developer just complains कि यार अब मुझको 3 हफ्ते से 2 हफ्ते करने वाला है ना? And then Sony blows it up कि ये लोग हमारे डेवलपर को खुश नहीं रख रहे हैं कि मतलब ऐसा कर रहे हैं ये लोग. तो मतलब that could also be the reason. Having said that, Dishonored Deathloop was made by Arkane Lyons, separate, at least the city. It's a sister studio, like a company, but it's separate city, separate outhouse, and this was made by Arkane Austin, but smaller team.
The people
but
behind
obviously
Prey,
the pedigree,
right?
Prey, yeah, exactly. So I think तो उस केस में भी है, मतलब maybe that's why Microsoft was a little skeptical of touching Arkane and those games during that time.
I think
But
इसका
whatever
जवाब
Darren
we will
says is
only
also
get.
very right.
We will get the answer to this question कि whether Redfall was like knowingly left in this state when Arkane comes out with their next game. उसका quality and whatever is वो देख के we will realize कि whether or not Redfall was left to die basically. कि उनको उनकी टीम वही रखी, let them work on it, let them get to a product कि इतना time invest कर लिया कि थोड़ा सा तो let's get some investment out of it and let the rest of the team work on something bigger and better that they can come back with essentially.
I think
go on.
Yeah, I think the major problem right now that Microsoft is facing is that they're spread too thin in the case of management, and where what is happening is that we are getting problems like what we are looking at in वो क्या Rare का next वाला game का नाम क्या है? Everwild. And then what is that another game that's like stuck in limbo?
Fable, Above. इतने सारे हैं.
Every one of them. There's a dark Perfect Dark. So all of those, I think the major stuff that people are hearing through rumors or stuff like that is that it's just that when left people to their own accord to everything, I think there should be a little bit of control regarding that, which is important in the terms of management, in the terms of quality control, in the terms of everything that comes ahead with it. And instead, I think we are having very loose structures where people are not understanding what they are actually responsible for. One of the things is being, I think, the whole Microsoft and Bethesda being two separate entities which are working together kind of a way. So I think that it's going to pose problems later on.
Yeah, I wanted to mention one thing. वो जो उसने बोला ना कि we'll make 80s scoring game and 60s scoring game. But also, if you say कि अच्छा ठीक है, okay, this is like a normal thing. अगर ये if that is to be वो statement को accept करना भी है तो you will take the same from Sony also. But Sony ने तो ऐसा नहीं किया ना. They've shown a track record of even जैसे देखो even from the PS4 देखो तो not even PS5 देखो तो उनका worst at least a AAA perspective से a mainstream AAA game is what a Days Gone, which is a pretty not a bad game at all. मतलब उसका it looks AAA जबकि वो $60 पे बिक रहा था, not $70 next gen वगैरह कुछ नहीं था. It looked way better, deeper mechanics, है with the bike and all. Story था, काफी cutscenes थे, काफी even it felt like they tried hey maybe they did. उनका स्टोरी इतना फाड़ू निकला नहीं, बट उनके हिसाब से they were making a great story. Redfall तो it's a guaranteed कि they knew कि वो अच्छा स्टोरी नहीं बना रहे, कटसीन नहीं डाला यार, स्लाइड्स दिखा रहे हैं. They already knew मतलब ना, तो मुझे लगता है तो how can you justify the statement कि हम 80s और 60s when you're deliberately making 60s, जबकि Sony deliberately 60s तो नहीं कर. That is why they're trying harder. Even they're one of their failure तो नहीं बोलेंगे, but worse भी क्या है, मतलब it's a Days Gone. It's a great, in many ways it's a very good game यार. देखो तो compared to Redfall it's no conversation, कुछ भी statements ऐसे लग रहे हैं. It's nothing, just
I think even Days Gone के अलावा they had 1886 The Order जो PS4 के launch पे आया था,
which was
and उसके लिए भी people are still saying कि the issue was कि it was too short. And even now people are यार उसको और can we get another game उसके लिए, which is something you can't say for Redfall, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, there is a thought and
even with Days Gone, I think लोग बोलते हैं ना the idea is good and maybe a sequel would do very well. And I think if you have the time na, it's जैसे मानस बोलते हैं ना podcast type of game. It is that kind of game. You can put it on and you can play. Open world है and it's funny. it's very well done also.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the part where they did the internal expectations, internal review, and there's apparently a double-digit difference between how it was reviewed in reality and how internally it was done. What kind of you people have been in game development on and off. Do those things happen quite often?
I can imagine a scenario where जैसे जो testing के लिए जो लोग आ रहे हैं like a focus group, अगर उनको लेके आ रहे हैं तो they must I am assuming कि they'll at least bring in people who are interested in the game and the genre already. उसके हिसाब से वो ऐसे नहीं कि जैसे Redfall खिलाने के लिए FIFA वाले fans को लेके आ गए ना, तो they kind of, so that itself I think will add a bias. ऊपर से I don't know if it influences no shit I'm saying this to Microsoft. and like I'm trying their game only, अगर उसको वो affect करता है कि नहीं, I think like professionally तो इतना affect करना नहीं चाहिए वैसे, but maybe that bias and also थोड़ा तो मुझे लग रहा है like double digit मतलब it could be like a 70-71, and अगर realistically if the company अपने game के बारे में 70-71 सोच रहा है तो it's like usually lesser than that, like you would, and if you're close to the, वैसे Redfall के बारे में तो I'm assuming कि they thought much lesser of it, तो बोलने के लिए कि like double digits हो रहा है, I don't know man, it just
double digit could be 10, it could be also
Yeah,
be 20.
10 वही
मतलब
तो।
ऐसा just saying, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि like 10-11 ही होगा difference, मतलब like they must have thought 70 and it came down to 6, like they must have thought 80 and they came out to 60, but मतलब I don't, मतलब I've never I've not read at least कि Redfall में कुछ performance issues वगैरह है, मतलब like है
थोड़े
ना
बहुत
कि
है,
like
like
bugs हैं,
bugs and glitches
हाँ,
हैं.
yeah.
okay,
But I feel ki, like, again, from Arkane's perspective, right, this might financially and all critically it might be a loss, but I think for the people who are working there and if they stay there after Redfall, if this team stays there, whichever team made it, we don't know ki unka internal structure kaisa hai, they might have 2 teams, 3 teams, one big team, but I feel ki this for them was a massive learning experience, like for the developers working on it, for whoever was working on it, just as from a production standpoint of a game, like to basically know कि your product is not going to be up to standard, but internally maybe trying to make it happen, or like trying to get थोड़ी सी वो थोड़ा सा something out of it कि यार कट सीन बना रहा हूँ, मेरे को पता है कि अच्छा स्टोरी बोर्ड्स दिखाने पड़ रहे हैं, इसमें थोड़ी सी मेहनत डाल देता हूँ मैं, तो on a whole level as a consumer, for us it's shit. For them as a professional, it's them trying to push their boundary a little bit to see ki what extra can they do in this very tight like constraint that they're put in, कि मैं इसको और कैसे enhance करूँ. So that at the end of the day, like if these developers stick around and they make another game where they are given that freedom and time, it's good for us. But
Yeah.
again, that's something we will find out in the future and not now.
but वो next game has to be like a shooter, मतलब अब अगर वो वही लोग बोले कि अब ठीक है अब मैं शूटर ही बनाऊंगा, like then that experience is of no use, right? मतलब अब वो बोले कि अब I want to make a क्या कहते हैं point and click adventure game, मतलब RTS बनाना है मुझको, अब मुझे creativity
I don't
चाहिए,
think इसके बाद वो फिर से Redfall जैसा कुछ बनाएंगे for a while.
नहीं मतलब not Redfall, but see that's what I'm saying, like
Blue
sure
Fall.
मतलब अगर आप if the learning from the experiences that you are better at making a first person shooter now, तब तो मैं थोड़ा सीरियसली लूँ इस बात को जो फिल बोल रहा है कि आई एम गोइंग टू गिव, है ना, मतलब दैट एटलीस्ट दैट्स हाउ आई टेक इट इन, मतलब इन नॉर्मल लाइफ, राइट? ठीक है, किसी भी चीज में, लाइक स्पोर्ट्स में भी, अगर इफ अ न्यू प्लेयर कम्स एंड ही इज प्लेइंग इंटरनेशनल फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, ही विल नॉट डू गुड, बट इफ ही इज नॉट डूइंग गुड आफ्टर 60 मैचेस, उसके बाद वो बोलता है नहीं अब मुझे बॉलिंग नहीं करनी, अब से मुझे बैटिंग करनी है, तो लाइक देन इट डजंट मेक सेंस ना, मतलब उस पॉइंट पे कि किस लिए लेके आए थे हमको टीम में आपको जैसे तो so that's my point on this, like abhi jaise Darren ne bola, I think he's spot on, but if they want to improve, then their next game should also be a shooter aisa, then we can actually judge ki bhaiya ye games mein improvement hui ki nahi.
Let's talk about the other controversial thing that he said during the interview.
और भी बोला था उसने,
It came during the last phase. I think he was talking about he said Xbox lost the worst generation to lose, which was the Xbox One era, where everybody were building the digital library of games. So that was like one of the first eras that were, before that people were usually buying games for, physical games, and then they had the option that they could change off to another console in the next generation. He said,
for verification.
Most people, like 90% of the people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console, are already a member of one of the 3 ecosystems. That digital library is there. This is the first generation where the big games that they are playing were games were available last gen, like Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft. I see a lot of pundits out there that kind of want to go back to the time when we all had cartridges and discs and every new generation was a clean slate and you could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world that we are in today. There is no world where Starfield's an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That is not going to happen. So what do you think about that aspect where, he's talking about that a one particular good game might not, and let me tell you from before, and I think there is a little bit of PR in that, why he was saying all that. It was setting things up for, the general discourse to take its place. but I'll come to that later. Why do you think, like, is that applicable to you all? Like, do you think like
I तो fully disagree with ये जो कह रहा है कि ना, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे games definitely like having good games on your console, even जैसे Fortnite वगैरह का, I think it's specifically like a very, मतलब बहुत ही उल्टा एग्जाम्पल फिल स्पेंसर का ना, those games want to be on all platforms because they assume कि
same
people
with
will
Microsoft, right?
बट जैसे फोर्टनाइट जैसे गेम ना, दे वांट टू बी ऑन, देख माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के तब भी अपने डिमांड चाहिए ना, उनको अपना गेम पास चाहिए प्लेस्टेशन पे, एंड देन एक्सबॉक्स गेम्स आर अवेलेबल ऑन प्लेस्टेशन. बट फोर्टनाइट कैसा है कि दे डेस्परेटली वांट टू बी ऑन ऑल प्लेटफॉर्म्स, एंड देन दे वांट टू मेक श्योर कि इट इज एज इजी एज पॉसिबल फॉर प्लेयर्स टू मूव फ्रॉम प्लेटफॉर्म टू प्लेटफॉर्म, क्योंकि दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. उनको पता है कि गेमर्स नया प्लेटफॉर्म लेते हैं, दे नो कि पीपल हैव अ पीसी, they might end up getting a console, they might end up getting a switch also, क्योंकि switch भी तो later in the generation आया था, like after the PS4 had established its footing. तो why did it like get so popular? And एक तो portability sure, but games भी थे ना, like portable तो यार इतने mobile है portable है ना, like it's not a game seller or anything, like वो particular games है, that is why like people are like buying that, and उसपे people who already have consoles उसपे games खरीद लिए हैं. Nintendo पे तो sale भी नहीं आते, they buy more expensive games on that platform. So this is like, and even Xbox has the example of when Xbox One and
Halo.
PS3 वाला time था, and Xbox 360 and PS3 वाला time था, Xbox 360 was leading with like all these multiplayer games, and उनके exclusives आ रहे थे, they were like really leading. तो सोनी ने ये थोड़ी बोला नहीं अब तो नहीं यार गेम रिलीज करके कोई फायदा नहीं है, फॉरगेट कुछ और दिखता है. नहीं, they Sony kept at it, and end of the PS3 generation they took the lead, like है ना, उस टाइम पे generation नहीं लगता है कि Xbox 360 were more popular, but PS3 sold more because they eventually ended up making more games. उस टाइम पे तो कोई उनको बड़ा मल्टीप्लेयर गेम नहीं चाहिए था, like Call of Duty का exclusive early access and all, Battlefield, all of it was on Microsoft. Like Sony did it with single player games के साथ कर लिया, multi platform games के साथ कर लिया. दिस इज लाइक सच अ इडियोटिक, मतलब क्या क्यों बोल रहा है यार, नहीं करना तो बोल दे नहीं करना यार, ये नहीं हो पाएगा तो भी बोल दे, नहीं तो कह रहे $70 का तुम गेम भी खरीदो. वो तो चलो वो बैरियर तो हटा ही रहा है. Go on.
Like Phil said ना कि पहले के जमाने में डिस्क और सीडी में like cartridge में you could have a clean slate because technology was upgrading that at that level, that speed, and also because you know नया console आया, अच्छा नया we need to sell the console, तो उसके लिए गेम बनाते हैं, है ना. तो Halo, what did Halo do? People bought Xboxes just for Halo. Same 360 के टाइम पे भी Gears और Halo के लिए people were buying it, like Manas said. वो मल्टीप्लेयर के लिए 360 क्या बिका था. बट उसके बाद PlayStation they completely changed how to expect like what you want from a console. Xbox One came around, they wanted to go digital. PlayStation said नहीं, we are sticking with what we know and we are going to make our games. And since that, like towards the tail end of the PS3 generation, PS4 and now PS5, what we are expecting from Microsoft is to be on the same level as PlayStation, जहाँ पे वो एक गेम अच्छा नहीं बना रहे, where you are guaranteed कि जो भी गेम ये बनाएंगे ना, वो मिनिमम तो like we said वो 75 के तो ऊपर तो होगा ही होगा. It will be minimum a Days Gone, and if it goes up, it goes to a God of War, है ना. But Microsoft, what Phil is saying is कि हम Starfield निकाल लेंगे, 11 out of 10 भी होगा, तो लोग PS5 नहीं बेचेंगे. अबे तो तुम एक गेम निकाल रहे हो ना, वो भी तुम्हारा नहीं है. Why would someone sell a console for that? Like if you do it,
but it's
over
not
the
about
course of
selling
5
your own
years,
console, है ना. The idea should be कि when that game comes out, it's a console seller. Like people should buy your console, मतलब not sell. ऐसा कोई यहाँ पर ये नहीं कह रहा कि किसी भी गेम ने, Last of Us आया था, like God of War आया था, Gears of War आया था, कोई भी बंदा अपना PS3 बेच के Xbox लेके नहीं आया. They bought a new Xbox, they bought a new PlayStation to play that game. सेम मतलब मेरे साथ भी ऐसे ही हुआ है. PS4 के लिए, लास्ट ऑफ अस के लिए खेलना था तो PS4 लेके आया, लाइक इस तरह की चीजें, राइट. तो दैट लाइक थिंकिंग गलत है, और मे बी ही नोज बट ही इज ट्राइंग टू पुट इट इन दिस वे कि मतलब यू हैव टू क्रिएट अ कंसोल सेलर, यू डोंट हैव टू क्रिएट अ कंसोल मतलब एक्सचेंजर, मतलब ऐसा, दैट्स नॉट द एम, राइट. मतलब कोई वो जितने PS5 बिक चुके हो तो बिक चुके हैं. You have to focus on कि अगला गेम आपका कैसे बिकेगा. If your game is 11 out of 10, if Starfield is 11 out of 10, just imagine the number of games copies it will sell. If that game is 11 out of 10, like मतलब अभी यहाँ पर fail the setting up कि नहीं होगा 11 out of 10, ठीक है. बट अगर वो होता, तुम सोचो, if a game like Starfield जिसकी हाइप हमारे एटलीस्ट हमारे पॉडकास्ट में जो 1000 लोग हैं उनमें बहुत हाई है, if that game is 11 out of 10, 1000 copies तो ये बिक जाएंगी, है ना? बाकी तो आप देख लो कितनी बिकेंगी, millions of
स्काईरिम
copies
जैसा ही
of it.
ब्रेक थ्रू हो जाए. इट्स नॉट कि
हाँ, I
मतलब
know,
तुम
right?
अगला कुछ फाड़ दो. स्काईरिम जैसा ही अगर ब्रेक थ्रू हो जाए तो फिर वो भी मैं सोच रहा हूँ लाइक इट इज सच अ नॉनसेंसिकल स्टेटमेंट, क्योंकि वो ऐसा थोड़ी है कि जब स्टारफील्ड रिलीज होगा ना उसके एक विंडो के अराउंड ही गेम्स बिकेंगे एंड कंसोल बिकेंगे. लाइक यार ड्यूड, पीपल विल कम जब कंसोल डिस्काउंट पे जाएगा. दैट इज हाउ यू बिल्ड एन ऑडियंस ओवर टाइम, जो सोनी ने किया विद द PS3.
पता
डू यू
नहीं.
नॉट सी
हाँ.
दैट? मतलब ना विद टाइम लोग जमा होंगे यार.
I
स्टारफील्ड go on.
Manas, I think why I said the right part that like this felt a little bit of a disingenuous, I will say, disinformation on his part, because I felt this is exactly what he was trying to do, and I
Yeah.
think this is part of the PR process that Microsoft is going through. Again, if I'm wrong. That's all right. It doesn't
Hey, I
matter.
would
to me
like
that
to be
नहीं
way.
wrong,
भाई,
तो-
this is what I'm saying. कि
But
you
I'm
should-
telling, yeah.
You should, when you're wrong, you should pay for it. मतलब what is Phil is saying is कि
And
ठीक है, हम कुछ बना रहे हैं, गलत हुए ठीक है,
And I
सही हुआ
think-
ठीक है, मतलब नहीं होना चाहिए जबर.
The exact reason he's saying this is that if you switch the word out of Starfield and the 11 out of 10, and you switch that whole idea off with something like, because he's talking about console share, switch that out with Call of Duty. He's trying to push out the narrative that one particular game or one particular game franchisee or anything like that would not make people switch consoles. It'll just
that's not
we
true.
have a different vision. No, but that's the narrative that's what I'm saying. That's what the disinformation part of the play that is happening, which I felt that part felt like PR. That part felt like PR. And I knew it right away that he was not meaning Starfield. वो Starfield नहीं बोलने मांग रहा है. When he was talking about console share, he's saying that, think about it, us getting Call of Duty does not mean that people are going to move out of PlayStation. And on the other hand, he's saying that console share will not matter. We have a different vision. So their vision right now has pivoted to the part where we talked about it before. They want to be everywhere. They want to be on PCs,
But
they want to be
what?
on consoles, mobiles, everything they have their own platform and they want to sell.
यार लेकिन सुशील ये भी तो है ना कि लाइक why will people subscribe, why will people want to be on your platform when there is like अच्छा कुछ है ही नहीं यार. एक रीजन ये भी है कि जैसे why do you need like these games है कि ना, जैसे even if you're a FIFA, Call of Duty वैसा like this वाला game, even if you just play that, like would you not want to be in a place where there are like other good games surrounding you?
Absolutely, Baris, and that's what I'm saying. Right now, Microsoft is a behemoth. Microsoft is paying a pittance to carry on with this whole Xbox division. It's like a drop in their whole ocean that they have right now. But they have a whole idea that they have to make money out of this, and they are thinking that before good games come out or before we establish the cycle of any kind of good games around here, we can still make money by making our platform everywhere. So anywhere their Game Pass sells, which is of course not games, but they can take it from third parties, they can have their own backlog. Anywhere they sell a Game Pass, they make a profit. So in the end, Microsoft is not that very committed, it seems, to making a very good game themselves. Rather, they are okay with the whole thing about like, okay, I'll make a platform, anybody will be able to play everywhere. So people, will be starting Game Pass on Nintendo on one particular game, fast switching, just like Fortnite. The whole thing that Fortnite gave us, the whole thing that Netflix gave us, that आज ये device में अभी देख रहे यहाँ pause करके निकल गए. So they are wanting an ecosystem like that where they control that whole the whole factor of the ecosystem where they don't need to put out a good game. They just can keep selling Game Pass and they just can do that. And it seems that is where the problem lies, is that it feels that Xbox is not desperate enough for a good game.
Yeah.
My PlayStation, there is a hunger. They have a smaller power when going, toe to toe with Xbox. There is a smaller kitty available, smaller money, and they know this is a make or break situation. Sony अंदर में बहुत, Sony is very dependent on PlayStation. Sony's main financials are very dependent on PlayStation. PlayStation अच्छा होगा तभी Sony अच्छा कर पाएगा. Microsoft is not like that. It just seems they don't have the hunger to make a good game. That's what I'm feeling at the end. He's disappointed. I'm disappointed because I feel in the end this is what is happening, and that's why the whole Activision Blizzard deal was supposed to go through. They wanted to bring really good games which people play, and they wanted to bring it to their platform, make sure that it is available everywhere so that people subscribe to their Game Pass and play on it. Apart from that, I don't think they had any good, very cemented ideas regarding how they're going to go forward. 3 साल 4 साल पहले एक ट्रेलर टीजर दिखा के ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए. I mean, there are like multiple games that we know nothing about even now, and there is still not a good game in sight right now. We are all waiting for Starfield, and even then अंदर जितना भी लग रहा है इसमें कोalition भी आ जाए तो कोई कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा, because it's ऐसा इंजन पे किया हुआ है जो सिर्फ उन लोगों को समझ में आता है. So it's I am a little tired of this whole thing. I am sad that Redfall failed, but it's just like what he said, Phil Spencer said, I agree with him on that. It's a self-inflicted wound. कोई आके मारा नहीं है, खुद की मतलब sword से खुद ही को लगा है. And I think they deserve that part of it. I think that should bring in a little bit of hunger. That should bring in a point where they buckle up and they do something good. Otherwise, it's just a complete shit show regarding that.
Yeah,
I went on a rant.
Man. ये पूरा rant अलग से डालना चाहिए हम लोग को. ये प्यार का पंचनामा type.
I'm
but
sorry.
Any parting thoughts before we finish or the?
The situation is like it's like I'm glad he came on, said all of this. But this is मतलब इतना ऐसा लग रहा है it's like such low मतलब level पे आ गया ना argument कि मतलब हम अच्छा गेम पता नहीं बनेगा है ना.
गेम नहीं होता है कि नहीं जीतेंगे हम नहीं जीतेंगे.
गेम अच्छा भी है तो फर्क पड़ता है क्या? मतलब ये क्या बात कर रहा है यार तू. मतलब थोड़ा बोलना यार कि हाँ भाई बना रहे फाड़ू गेम्स भाई. तुम देखो रेडफॉल मुझे भी बकवास लगा यार, पता नहीं क्यों मैंने भी अनइंस्टॉल कर दिया. कुछ ऐसा बोल के आता तो
But I just want to give a shout out to the people who interviewed him.
Yeah.
They are from an Xbox themed podcast. They have been doing that for quite some time. They are known Xbox loyalists. It was tough for them to ask those kind of questions, but they went ahead and they did. And I think it made for like it was a good breakthrough. It was a good look into what the top executives at Microsoft are thinking and what place Xbox is heading towards.
तो मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि फिल ने इस तरह के इंटरव्यू पहले भी दिए है ना. दिस इज नॉट द फर्स्ट टाइम.
इसी तरह के इंटरव्यू दिए.
इसी तरह के ही इंटरव्यू दिए.
ऐसे इंटरव्यू दिए.
Throughout his tenure, he has never come out and say कि यार this is the win Xbox needed and you know we achieved it because we worked hard हम लोग for the last 10 years. ऐसा last 4 साल से हम लोग उसके लिए मेहनत करते. कभी नहीं बोला फिल ने ऐसा. I am still waiting for that interview to happen.
असल में जब कुछ अच्छा होता है ना तब सब में बांट देता है वो, और खराब होता है तो बोलता है कि हाँ मैं रिस्पॉन्सिबल हूँ. इतना भी गलत बात मत बोला.
जब अच्छा कब आया फिल ऐसे स्टेज पे आया और बोला यार ये हम लोग पिछले 10 साल से मेहनत कर रहे थे, 5 साल से मेहनत कर रहे थे, 6 साल से 4 साल से 3 साल से मेहनत कर रहे थे, 2 साल से मेहनत कर रहे थे, 1 साल से मेहनत कर रहे थे और अब हमारे सामने देखो ये हमारी मेहनत का ये फल है. कब हुआ ऐसा? लास्ट 6 साल में. सुशीर तुम बताओ. You were a loyalist.
I think Halo Infinite. Last time you said that there was Halo Infinite.
उसके बाद फिर वो बोला सॉरी यार मतलब गलती हो गई है, टेक द ब्लेम. नहीं मेरी गलती है, हम लोग सीखेंगे गलतियों से.
Their lineup is definitely lacking a AAA behemoth that they deserve. So I mean इतने सारे studios इतने सारे बड़े
वो भाड़ में जाए. We deserve it अब.
Absolutely. I mean, I was just saying in the case of like the big studios that it has under itself, like, you know, starting from Bethesda, starting from Obsidian to everybody under there. I just think that they need a AAA win, and I can't see that on the horizon, and that is it feels disappointing.
Because they'll be the only game in that space.
But I think that brings us to the end of the show today. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for listening, guys. If you like it, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think about the recent interview and what do you think about Redfall. What do you think where Starfield is going? Do you think Xbox in a good place or not? And whatever, do you agree with Phil or not, right? Or do you agree with us or not, right? But with that, this is Ayush signing off. We'll see you next week.
Bye.